Good game, Empire. And Happy New Year, folks. The Radicoida War has taken a turn with the forces of the Feds having been definitely eliminated from the Radicoida enclave, with Alicia Winters being out of play, and with the numerical most prominent force among the independents, that of Li Yong also having been eliminated from the enclave this past cycle. What this leaves us with is effectively the Radicoida War becoming an imperial affair between Empress Lavinie Duval and her blue-haired relative, Aisling Duval, as the remaining forces in the enclave, even those that hold a numerical significant number of systems like Pranavantal and Nakado Kane, just don't have the manpower to mount a effective challenge to these two powers taking the overall crown of this event as the war unfolds. I do believe the Empire has played fair and has played very well in this overall experience, despite their inherent advantage of having sort of numerical superiority in the fight. If you recall where we started, we had over 6,000 players participating in the opening community goal for the Empire, which was more than twice as many, almost 3 times as many, that of the Federation, 50% more of the sort of mixed group of the Independents, and more than 3 times that of the Alliance. So they had significant number advantage coming into this, but nevertheless, Elite in part is numbers game, but in part is more than a numbers game, and also has to do with like how groups coordinate, come together, and you ultimately succeed as a group or otherwise. On my part, I felt that the only chance we had to effectively challenge the Empire was to create a concordat where Federation, Independent, and Allied forces came together to challenge the Imperials and provide at least a balanced numerical effort to contain what otherwise would end up being a very one-sided war. And for my part, I honestly didn't mind fight on the sort of disadvantage or losing side, because I felt that it was the place where I would be learning the most about the game, and that I would probably have the most fun, as like fighting for the winning side where you have massive numerical advantage is just not the way I've been playing Elite Dangerous historically. So I very much enjoyed putting my hat in the ring of independent forces and trying to assemble resistance for what I could for the Empire. I did it in a way I felt was really the only way like to contain the Empire, which was to get more casual commanders in the war, involved in the war, and take the numbers game to the Empire by rallying up forces in fighting for the resistance and fighting for independence. The results are in, and as you all can tell, I failed. We failed. The folks that resisted the Empire have not been successful, and the Empire has effectively won the war. And kudos to them. As I said again, it was a great effort on their part. They managed to play really, really well in knocking out strategic targets and sustaining the pressure on Li Yong for a number of weeks. Kudos to the Li Yong guys who defended their system. Like, the numbers for Li Yong were astonishing. I think there was something like 4 million control points going into like attack and defense of the system on a weekly basis. I am personally proud of being part of a group that has managed to put up such an effort, even though I'm not necessarily all that involved in Powerplay myself or see myself as particularly affiliated with any group. I am definitely proud to have fought alongside the Li Yong folks, because I am truly, truly impressed by the kind of defense they put up, even if it was ultimately unsuccessful. And again, I am impressed to what the Empire has accomplished, because it is no small feat. Like, overcoming that kind of resistance and ultimately getting to be in the position that they're in right now took some skill, effort, and a lot of coordination, and that is remarkable. So once again, kudos to the Empire. So that leaves us here. Like, the Radicoida War is now an affair between Imperial forces. Where it will lead, the weeks and the months ahead will tell us. It has taught us a few things, I believe, about Powerplay 2.0, which came with the experiment, I call it, because the Enclave is really an experiment that Frontier created, as it's separate from the bubble. It has its own set of rules with regards to fortified systems and whatnot. And by the way, the rules changed on almost a weekly basis. If you remember the first week, everything got undermined into the ground, and then they kind of changed things so that also reinforcements counted. Like, this was a system, or rather a mechanism where combat powers were significantly advantaged. As now I can't find it, but it's under user data, I think. Economies, where is it? Economies, there you go. As you can see, the purple dots here tell you that all of these economies are military economies. And what that means is they don't really buy much. And since they don't buy much, you can't really trade much here. And since you can't trade much, powers that rely on trade for their merits are really kind of pretty significantly disadvantaged here. And the fact that pretty much all these systems had combat zones, significantly advantaged. Instead, powers that relied on combat as their ethos. Again, something worth noting. I will also say I've done most of my play in open play, if not all of it, really, when it comes to the Radicoida War, because I feel that like Powerplay is really the way that players are meant to sort of like interact on a sort of PvP basis at the grand scale in Elite. And the fact is, even though I did that, I haven't really seen that many people in open play, except for people that were specifically either coming after me or were in clearly PvP fitted build and looking for other players to hit. And that makes me wonder, like, one reflection I bring with me out of this whole experience is that I do believe that power play should be open boosted, as in what you do in open play should count more merit-wise towards the progression of the overall power than what you do in solo or in private group. Or at the very least, like, you could get maybe the same progression towards your personal rewards in solo, because nobody cares, like, whether, you know, you get more or less merits as far as, like, unlocking your prismatic shields or whatever when you're playing all by yourself. However, when it comes to actual contributions to the war and to, like, the actual moving of boundaries and sort of boundary lines between different systems in one way or another, I personally don't like the fact that people can affect this as much just by being in solo mode as they can by sort of being out there in open play. I feel open play should be boosted as far as like the controls points specifically and the effect that they have on the politics of the galaxy, if you will. But, you know, it's a personal opinion and whatnot. So, guys, once more, kudos to the Empire. Well done. You fought well. It was definitely a rewarding experience to fight you all. I've learned a ton. I had a good time. Thank you for the experience, and I will see you out there, folks. Happy New Year again. Going to Mechan out.